No more reality TV shows. Seriously. If I want to watch the day-to-day life of unattractive, uneducated people, I will hang out with my own family. Thank you very much. No more breast reduction surgeries. I mean, why should I be penalized just because your back hurts? Come on. Take an Advil, for crying out loud. No more commercials where some law group is trying to get somebody to sue somebody else. We are the most sue-happy nation on earth, which is why our car insurance is so expensive, which is why our medical insurance is so expensive, all the lawsuits. And it started with cars. Have you been in a car accident? Do you know someone that's been in a car accident? Have you ever heard about a car accident? Now it's everything. Has a woman with a vaginal mesh implant given you the prescription drug fen-phen, which caused you to develop mesothelioma? If so, you could be owed billions. I just remember that happened to me last summer. Yes, sir. Captain Crunch is the most time intensive. Here's what I'm talking about. You eat it too soon after you pour the milk on, and you will rip the roof of your mouth to shreds. You wait too long after you pour the milk on, and the captain will put a film on your teeth a wire brush can't get rid of. See, when it comes to technology, my wife and I laugh about this because we're in our mid-50s, and my wife says we are the bologna in the technology bologna sandwich. We're right in the middle because our parents can't text and our children can't write. My kids don't even think you need to study. They're like, Dad, if you want to know something, you just Google it. And to a point, they're right. I mean, when I was growing up, if you were watching TV and somebody said, what was that guy in? You'd go, well, he looks familiar. That was it. Now you're watching TV, somebody goes, what was that guy in? Somebody goes, he was the janitor on Joey. Of course he was. But I try to tell my kids, I said, yeah, there's a lot of stuff you can learn from Google. I said, but there's just as much stuff you can't learn from Google. You only learn it from life experience. You'll usually learn most of it the hard way. It's stuff that's not Googleable. So, I mean, it's like going to the drive-in movie by yourself. You can do it, but it ain't ending in a smile. You're an adult. If you want a cookie, eat a cookie. If you want sugar-free, eat celery. Quit wasting valuable cookie dough on sugar-free cookies. Nobody likes them. Now, you hear this a lot in an election year. Like, if you were trying to get to the bathroom in an emergency situation, it is not a wise idea to unbutton your pants in transit trying to save a couple of seconds. Because the muscles that guard the floodgates will interpret the unbuttoning as the signal to abandon their post. And the 2 seconds you saved on the button are nullified by the hour and a half you spend mopping and doing laundry. You only learn that the hard way. Active life, if you're driving down the interstate and you come up behind that old pickup truck that has like 13 wooden pallets stacked in the back and they're held together by like 2 ratty bungee cords, we all say the same prayer. Dear God, do not let those bungee cords break. Active life, when your kids go off to college, you need to be concerned about the excessive drinking, the wild sex, the sleeping till noon. And you need to worry your kids might be doing the same thing. Fact of life, 100% of the black men that shave their heads look really cool. 50% of the white guys that shave their heads look like they just murdered their parents. Fact of life, you can have a wife with long, beautiful hair, or you can be on time. Fact of life, if a cable or satellite company promises you something for free, in 6 months you are going to get a bill that looks like Ron White's bar tab. No more parents at Little League games. We've tried it, it doesn't work. Children's recreational sports were started for kids to have fun. It is the grown-ups that took the fun out of it. Seriously, parents, no more serious. Parents, no more yelling at the coaches. The coaches are not the reason your child is not going to play professional sports. Your genetics are the reason your child is not going to play professional sports. And no more trophies for everybody. No more not keeping score. Seriously, no matter how badly you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, the truth in life is there are winners and there are losers. And if you don't believe me, let's get in my car and go to Walmart after midnight. Walmart after midnight makes The Walking Dead look like America's Next Top Model. Fact of life, if you wake yourself up with a snore, the first thing you do is look around to see who's laughing at you. Fact of life, when your wife or girlfriend gets tipsy, there is a very fine line between her talking dirty to you and sleeping like a hibernating bear. And by fine line, I mean about half a sip. You wait till we get home tonight, mister. I'm gonna tear you up. And once she crosses the line, you ain't getting her back. It's like the paramedics putting the paddle on a body with no head. You're wasting your time. Baby, wake up for like 1 minute. 1 minute, please. New York and LA, that they know what we're like. The in-between, and I'm like, y'all have no idea. Because they didn't want to film the Blue Collar Comedy Tour. They were like, no, people won't get this. I said, yeah, they will, because I've been out there. They'll get it. Thank you, God, you do. I remember one time I was in a meeting in L.A. and the guy, he had on like some kind of purple turtleneck and a velvet jacket, and he had his hair all gelled in a ponytail and had 2 big earrings, and he's looking at me and he said, Jeff, I know your people. I said, my people would beat the hell out of you. Then my manager told me later I shouldn't say that because they're trying to get you to be on their TV show. But it is an honor to be here. When I was doing the thing with Larry, we were like hanging out in a little trailer kind of dressing room like that, and I was working on my Redneck Page a Day calendars, and Larry came in there and he said, how long you been doing them calendars? And I said, well, I did the first one in 1990, so 22 years. And he said, how do you keep coming up with redneck jokes? And I said, sadly, there's no research going on. It's pretty much my family and friends. So that being said, I had to start off tonight telling you this story. Several months ago, I got an invitation to my cousin Sherry's wedding in Alabama. And I got the feeling that it was a hurry-up wedding. Because the invitation was a fax. You might be a redneck. And at the bottom, somebody had written BYOLC, which we learned meant bring your own lawn chair, because they were getting married in Sherry's parents' backyard because apparently the OBGYN told them they didn't have 6 weeks to wait on the church. Well, my mom was at my house that day, and I started making jokes about it being a hurry-up wedding, and my mother got mad. My mother said, don't you dare say anything about Sherry. She is the sweetest girl alive. She never tells anybody no about anything. Pretty much that's why we're having to go to Alabama now. But my mama knows everything. I said, so Mama, how did she meet this guy? My mama said, they met in a laundromat. So you know right there it was anointed by God. She said, but Sherry needed change for the dryer, and this guy Dustin just came over and gave her half a roll of quarters, which I'm pretty sure then under Alabama law she was required to have sex with him. Well, my mom wants to go to the wedding, and my mother doesn't drive on the interstate anymore, and so she wants us to take her. And so I can't tell my mother no, and I'll go, all right, we'll go. Well, immediately my mom starts pitching for us to stay at my Uncle Ray Ray and Aunt Tina's house. And I don't want to do that because I'm allergic to ferrets. And so I said to my mom, I said, Mom, why don't we just stop at the Motel 6 in Dothan, Alabama? And my mother said, and I quote, well, I don't want people thinking we're uppity. Which in my family is a possibility. One year at the family reunion, my brother brought 3 buckets of Kentucky Fried Chicken, and all day people were like, what's up, Donald Trump? So at the risk of being uppity, we stopped at the Motel 6 in Dothan, Alabama. And if I had known that it was chili cook-off weekend in Dothan, I would have called ahead and made a reservation, because they only had 1 room available, and from the smell of it, some of the past chili cook-off winners had stayed there. But when the lady at the desk said 1 room, in my mind, I'm thinking 2 double beds. Well, we get to the room, and there's 1 queen-size bed for me, my wife, and my mother. And my wife's not happy because she knows she's in the middle. Because if I wake up spooning with the wrong person, it is going to take years of therapy to get me back right again. Well, you learn stuff when you're on the road. And that night we learned that the walls of the Motel 6 in Dothan, Alabama are apparently made out of toilet paper because the couple in the room next to us liked each other. A lot. And loudly. And me and my wife and my mother lay in that queen-size bed and listened to them like each other for an hour and a half. At which point my wife turned to me and said, you need to do something. I said, I'm about to walk next door and ask for his autograph. An hour and a half? It's 2 years' work for me. Well, the next morning we're getting ready and I hear them leaving their room. Well, I want to see them. Because when you listen to this, you have this mental image of what they look like. So I go and crack the door and peek out in the hall. I wish I had never done it. Oh, they were big uns. Big. I think half the moaning and groaning was them trying to take their socks off. So we leave Dothan and we drive down to my Uncle Wayne's house. Well, there's cars parked all up and down the street, so we have to walk down the street. Well, as we're walking up the driveway, there's a pickup truck in the driveway, and from behind it looks like somebody's passed out against the passenger window. I'm like, what the heck? I woke up next to the truck. In the passenger seat with a seatbelt on is a dead deer. You can't make that up. And the doors are locked. I go in the house, I said, what's the story with the deer in the truck? And my cousin Scott said, well, we hid it on the way over here, but I didn't want to leave it in the bed because I thought somebody might steal it. They think somebody's going to steal a deer at a family wedding. So we visit a while, and then they tell everybody to grab their lawn chairs. Well, we go out in the backyard where the ceremony is going to take place, and they have decided that the altar for the wedding is going to be the redwood deck of the above-ground pool. And the entire deck and pool are covered in colored Christmas lights. I leaned over to my brother, I said, wonder how long it took to put up the wedding decorations. He said, well, we were here 2 years ago and they were up then, so I don't think they ever come down. Well, my cousin Sherry comes out for the wedding, and she is wearing a snow white wedding dress. She is 8 months pregnant in a snow white dress. I'm looking for a big star or 3 guys riding camels up the driveway. My mother leans over and said, that's the same dress her mother got married in. I'm doing the math, and the only answer I can come up with is ho squared. So Oh, no, you can't start to laugh and then change your mind. No, he went, oh. Well, they finished the ceremony. The reception's right there in the same backyard. The guy that was the best man is now the DJ. He's wearing tuxedo pants with no shirt. He's lighting firecrackers with his cigarette, and he's throwing them at Sherry's grandmother's feet just to hear her cuss. And she's good. Sherry's mother, Donna, is walking around with a styrofoam cooler full of Ziploc bags of birdseed because she said Sherry read online that if you throw rice and the birds eat it, that when the birds drink water later, the rice expands and it'll kill them. So she wants people to throw birdseed, which we did. And to this day, I have not had the heart to tell her 2 hours after they left, her little brothers were in the front yard with pellet guns shooting the birds, eating the birdseed. Well, when they got in the car, most people just drive off, not my relatives. They get in Dustin's Camaro and proceed to do donuts in my Uncle Wayne's front yard. Third time around, her door flew open. I am standing next to her grandmother who threw her beer on the ground and said, if this lasts 6 months, I'll kiss a good man's ass. So, Jeff, where do you come up with those redneck jokes? Because everywhere we go now, all the rental car places are selling the used rental cars. And I have driven some bad vehicles in my life. I have never been so desperate for an automobile, I wanted a used rental car. Because you know what people do to rental cars. My mother will not drive 55 miles an hour. You put her in a rental car, she's doing donuts in the grocery store parking lot. Buying a used rental car is kind of like going to a house of ill repute looking for a wife. Anything that's been driven that hard by that many people, you really don't want to put your key in it. Well, there's no incentive to take care of a rental car because if you pay the extra insurance, you can total that rental car and they'll bring you another one. And I recommend always get the additional insurance. They're like, Mr. Foxworthy, would you like the additional coverage? I'm like, yes, I would. Because you got a Ford Fiesta that's about to see more airtime than a skateboard at the X Games. Hottie outside your front door? Then throw some religious pamphlets out around it. Sleep till noon if you want to. There's the sleep till noon when I was single. I didn't like being single. Too tough. Dating was tough. Any guys ever go out with a girl that forgot to tell you she had a boyfriend? That's information you need, yeah? This happened to me. I went out with this girl. We had a good time. We went out to dinner, and then after dinner, we came back to my apartment. We'd been at my place about half an hour when there was a knock on my front door. I walked out, opened the door. There's this 250-pound guy staring at me going, what the hell you think you're doing with her? I looked him right in the eyes, and I said, I'm cutting her damn hair, and you're just going to have to wait, all right? Called save your own tail there, boy. Married man myself. I love being married. I love my wife to death. I love women. I don't understand everything about them yet, but I love them. Like, I don't understand, why is it when a woman gets in the bed, the temperature of her feet and butt drop to below freezing? It can be 98 degrees outside. That butt is ice cold. And want to put it on you. It's like snuggling with a butterball turkey. Honest to God, I can lick my hand, put it on my wife's butt, it'll stick, you know? I've learned this. Women care more about their appearance than men. Don't they, guys? Yeah. Well, you never see like a guy picking up his buddy to go fishing at 5 o'clock in the morning going, damn, Bill, you ain't gonna wear that shirt with them shoes, are you? It's after Labor Day, for crying out loud. Women care more about smell than men. My wife's always asked me, do I smell good? You like the way I smell? I mean, hell, if men have an odor, it's usually an accident. You know? Charles, what is that intoxicating fragrance? No, that's Michelob. I hit a bump in a truck. Men and women both care about smell, but women go to trouble to smell good, you know. Men are more like, hey, does this stink too bad to wear one more time? Maybe I should put it in the dryer. Men love that dryer, don't we? And we'll find a shirt in the sewer, put it in the dryer. That's some gun ready to go right there. Thank you very much. You guys have been great. I hope you see you again. Most from the good old days to now is this little gadget right there. This little gadget changed the world. Now everybody on the planet has one of these in their hand, 24/7, 365. Doesn't matter if you're in a third world country, you might not have enough to eat, you got a phone. See, back in the good old days, my entire family had one phone. It was hardwired into the wall of the kitchen. It came in 4 possible colors: black, white, harvest gold, and avocado green. We had the avocado green, and my parents actually sprung for the extra long cord. And let me tell you, the phone company didn't cheat you on the extra long cord. Our phone cord was over 1/4 mile long. My mom could walk down the driveway and check the mail, never quit talking to her sister. You know, it's like, but because the whole family had one phone, you never had any privacy if it was for you. So you learned tricks like you'd run it under the door and go down the hall or sit in the pantry and talk to your boyfriend or girlfriend while your siblings made kissy noises from around the corner. But because you stretched it out so far, remember the downside of the extra long cord? Anybody remember? Yeah, it was always tangled up, like Aunt Judy's thong after kickboxing lessons. But when it was stretched out, it was almost like a lethal weapon. Like my mom used to talk on the phone when she was cooking. Well, they were on other sides of the kitchen. So one night she's cooking and talking on the phone, and I'm chasing my brother through the house. We round into the kitchen. He never saw the phone cord. He hit it right there. His feet went up in the air. The back of his head hit the floor like wedding night panties. My mom never quit cooking and never quit talking. She was... lost, it can find itself. Most of us need Jesus to do that, but not this joker. It can not only find itself, it can find you. It can find anybody in your family. It's a world-class GPS. You put in any direction to anywhere in the world, it will take you right there to it and tell you within the minute what time you're going to get there. See, we didn't have GPS back in the good old days. We had maps. We kept them in the glove compartment of the car. And nobody ever wanted to open them because if you did, you never got it folded back down again. So we were always lost. Hell, when we went on family vacations, the only thing that was recalculating was our dad. All right, kids, I have changed my mind. Instead of going to Disney World, we're all just going to go in this hardware store and have a little more powerful than the biggest computers we had in the world in 1980. All the knowledge in the world right there at your fingertips. You want to know how much an elephant weighs? Ask your phone. You want to know how tall Tom Cruise is? Ask your phone. See, back in the good old days, if we wanted to know something, we had to wait until our cheap-ass parents broke down and bought a set of encyclopedias. And here was the deal. You didn't get them all at one time. You made a down payment, they'd give you the A volume. You keep making payments, a few years later, you get the B. So that first year, you could talk very intelligently about Antarctica or aardvarks. But if you had to do a school report on Zimbabwe, you were being held back another year. Nobody can remember their password to anything. There's so many of them. You know, when I was growing up back in the good old days, I only had to remember one password. That was the password to get into our secret clubhouse back in the woods. And it was a beauty. What's the password? Boobies. It was all we thought about, so why not make it the password? Every meeting I ever remember having in the clubhouse, that's what it was about. And one of my friends, I think he's in prison now, had a theory that if heaven was a perfect place, once you got past the pearly gates, it would just be a giant field of naked boobies, and that they'd let you take your shoes off and run around for a little while. I remember thinking right then and there, I'm going to church. When God told you you were out of the game, you just walked out in the backyard and started a garden. And the only hoe you were playing with was the one to get the weeds out of the tomatoes. But now, thanks to Viagra, people are playing into their 80s. Let that mental image sink in just a second. Just that pile of flesh, and everything in the pile looks like it needs ironing, you know? I do think it's cool that the nursing homes are now giving the old guys half a tablet a night, you know, just to keep them from falling out of bed. So, kind of a kickstand deal there. And now everybody talks about this stuff. You know, back in the good old days, if a man was trying to shoot pool with a rope, he kept it to himself. But now it's a cottage industry. I heard a radio ad the other day where this guy said, thanks to his ED formulas, he could now help men perform for 30, 60, even 90 minutes. And I'm thinking, 90 minutes? Blah! Oh my gosh, my attention span is not that long. After 20, I'd be like, hey, I'm going to go. In the good old days, my parents told me nothing. My school taught me nothing. Everything I learned about sex, I pieced together for myself. Like when I was 11, we had an uncle that raised rabbits. And so we were out at his farm one weekend, and he took a group of us out to the shed where he kept the rabbits. And he had all the males in cages on one side and all the females in cages on the other. And he opened a male's cage, grabbed him by the scruff of the neck, walked over, opened a female's cage, and dropped him in there. And that male rabbit jumped on top of that female rabbit and jackhammered like a hurricane for like 5 seconds. And then he fell off on his back. And everybody was laughing except me. Because I'm like, oh my God, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it that fast. Turns out I had nothing to worry about. You would race each other to answer the phone because you had no idea who it might be. Might be your grandmother, might be the President of the United States. You didn't know till you picked it up. But now caller ID has taken all the joy out of answering the phone. Now your phone rings, you're like, no, hell no, I ain't doing that. Nobody got time for that. And because we stick our phones in our pockets and our purses and things, they're always rubbing up against something, and we're always accidentally dialing people we didn't mean to dial. We call them butt dials. All right, I'm going to see what an honest audience you are. How many people listen more intently to butt dials than they do actual phone calls? If somebody butt dials me and I don't have anything to do, I'll stay on for like 20 minutes. I'm like, I have a buddy named Pert. He makes furniture, and Pert always sticks his phone in the front pocket of his blue jeans, so he's always butt dialing somebody. And one night he butt dialed me, and I didn't have anything going on, so I'm just sitting there listening to him walk around his shop. And after about 10 minutes, I hear a door open and I hear a lid go up, and I hear him start to pee. Being the mature adult that I am, I jumped out of my chair, ran into the kitchen to my wife, and I went, Pert's peeing, Pert's peeing, Pert's peeing. And we put it on speakerphone, and me and my wife stood there and listened to my friend urinate. Oh my God, I hope he farts at the end. I hope he, please, please. What is wrong with us? How many guys, be honest, ever sat during a wedding with your phone in your lap, turn the volume down, watch a football game? Yeah. And it's porn. And you don't even have to be looking for it. There's so much porn in here, it's looking for you. Not long ago, my wife and I were trying to figure out where to go eat one night. I typed in delicious Italian near me. I'm like, Mamma mia. That's a spicy meatball there. See, back in the good old days, porn was when one of your friends found a discarded Playboy magazine, and you would sneak it back to the secret clubhouse in the woods. Therefore, the password. And maybe if you're into porn, now is the good old days, because it took 2 hands to hold that magazine, but only 1 hand to hold your phone. And human beings being able to corrupt anything that is good have found such naughty things to do with this phone. People actually take pictures of their private parts and send them to other people, which is such a fabulous idea. What could possibly go wrong with an idea like that? See, back in the good old days, if I had wanted to send my girlfriend a picture of my private parts, I would have had to have found a piece of notebook paper, put it on the edge of the kitchen table, waited until nobody else was home, ran over to the table, dropped my pants, laid Junior on the paper, take a pencil and trace him out. Then I would have had to have got a box of crayons, and it would have had to have been the 64 count box, because that was the only one that had flesh tone in it. Color it in, fold that paper up, put it in an envelope, address it to my girlfriend, put a stamp on it, walk down the driveway and put it in the mailbox to mail it to her. So 3 days later, she could call me and go, "Why did you send me a drawing of your thumb?" Just night, as it so often does in Orlando in July. Anybody else have a wife or girlfriend that does this one? My wife will pack like a collapsible soft-sided suitcase inside of the hard-sided suitcase. People pointing at each other. Just in case I buy something while we're there. And if you're a gambling man, take the over on my wife buying something while we're there. And I have never looked inside the collapsible suitcase, but I'm willing to bet there's a smaller collapsible suitcase inside of it. My wife always loads up a gallon Ziploc bag full of medicine, just in case somebody gets sick. One time I was playing in Buffalo. It was like February. They had snow up to here. I had a little bit of a headache. I go unzip the medicine bag. We've got malaria pills. Thankfully missed the great malaria outbreak in Buffalo that winter. And I tell her, I say, "Baby, I love you to death." I said, "This is where your packing just starts getting out of control." So the last time we were getting ready for vacation, I walked in the bedroom. I caught her rooting through my suitcase. She pulled out a 5-pound bag of oats. She's like, "Uh-huh." She goes, "What is this for?" I said, "Oh, that." I said, "That is just in case the 2 donkeys we're going to need to carry your luggage get hungry while we're gone." And actually, she packs light for airline travel as opposed to back in the car, is there not? My dad taught me, you do suitcase Tetris, flip them, spin them, turn them upside down. When he would get finished, you couldn't get a piece of notebook paper between anything in that vehicle. My dad could get a house full of furniture into the trunk of a Buick. "Hold the jack, hand me the piano. I got this son of a gun now." And like my daddy, once I get that car packed, I'm ready to go. Not my wife. "Oh no, we can't go yet." "The car's packed, why can't we go?" "Because I got to straighten up the house." "Wait, do what?" "Well, I'm not going to be able to have a good time if I know I'm going to be coming back to a messy house." Well, why didn't you straighten it up the last couple of days? Because I had to pack. Which in a nutshell is why men die before women. Because we want to. We have been married for 30 doctors and lawyers, you know, the 10-year-old kids, and that's your generation. I mean, because of technology, you guys are like the smartest generation that's ever been on this planet. And I could, as a dad, I could see it early. I remember when my oldest daughter turned 5 and she wanted a computer for her birthday, her 5th birthday, a computer. And we get a computer and this 5-year-old can use it. I remember what I got when I turned 5. The little wooden paddle with the rubber band and the red ball on the end of it. That was a brain builder. 1, 2, 3. I mean, no wonder we turned out this way. But everything changed with your generation. It's like when my girls were growing up. Every toy they ever got had a tag in it showing you somebody had inspected it to make sure there was no possible way a child could hurt themselves playing with that toy. I remember being 9 years old, my parents gave me a wood burning kit. Oh, what could possibly go wrong with a toy like that? A sharp metal stick that heated up to 5,000 degrees. And let me tell you something, our dogs and cats didn't have a little tag around their neck, but everybody in the neighborhood knew who they belonged to. The Circle F brand, that's Foxworthy cat right there. Anybody else have the swing set growing up? My parents were too lazy to dig a hole in the ground and buy a bag of concrete and pour it in the hole. So we had a swing set that anytime you swung above this high, the legs of it would go whoom, There were stuntmen that would not swing on our swing set. And some of the toys they gave us, like lawn darts. Somebody had 12-pound darts. You could kill an elk with a lawn dart. And there were no directions to them. They just came in a box of 8. We used to pull them out of the box, throw them straight up in the air. You catch one of those with your head, you're getting coloring books for Christmas for the rest of your life. And to this day, my mom gets upset if she sees me take a sip of wine. But when I was a child, she bought me model airplane glue by the bags full. I'm in my room trying to build models. I'm higher than AC/DC on the opening night of a new tour. Finally get the model put together that my dad would give us firecrackers to blow them up with. And we knew they were safe because we had to drive across the state line to buy them from a man that had 3 fingers. Not on each hand, total 3 fingers. That's a good firecracker right there. You'll like that one. This guy can't operate a Bic lighter, but he's a demolitions expert. Remember when my girls were little, I had to buy latches to keep them out of the dishwashing detergent. My parents brought my brother and I a chemistry set. Mom, Joey put ammonium sulfate in my eye. Tell him I said stop. You boys go play with the wood burning kit. Better yet, go outside, get on the mini bike. A lot. And my wife got concerned about it. She said, you know, I think we need to take Herman to the vet. I said, baby, Herman costs $5. Perhaps it's time we let Herman loose out in the woods. You know. Born free. And she started getting mad at me. And I said, honey, let me tell you something. When I was growing up, there was no chance we had a $5 pet that was going to see the inside of a veterinarian's office. Very few of our pets went to the veterinarian. You know what happened to our pets? They ran away. I remember one time my brother and I found this dog and we brought him home, and that dog barked all night long for the first 3 nights we had him. Then on the 4th day, while we were at school, he ran away. We had a cat that started clawing my mother's curtain. She ran away. I remember having goldfish that ran away. But my wife was like, oh no, she said, Herman is our pet, he's our responsibility, I'll take him to the vet. And she did. She took that $5 hamster to the vet. And $65 later, Herman's hair is still falling out. And I said, 65 bucks? We could have bought 13 new Hermans for 65 bucks. I said, when your medical bills are 13 times what you're worth, either you are really, really cheap or you are really, really sick. I said, let's put it this way. I said, let's say your grandmother went to the doctor and they told her it was going to take $13 million to make her well. I said, you cannot look me in the eye and tell me there's not a chance. We'd be calling the kids downstairs going, girls, sit down, we've got some bad news. Meemaw has run away. It's one of those people starting to laugh at it. Then somebody asked me, what was your favorite part of doing that show? And I said, the part where they handed me the cards with the answers on it. That was my favorite part. But I think people think because I hosted that show that I'm smarter than I am. And I'm like, I knew none of that stuff. I'm not like Alex Trebek. We had a lady on one day, they asked her, it was like a second grade grammar question. It was something about an antonym. And she said, oh, I remember there were homonyms and synonyms and antonyms. She said, I can't remember the difference in them. Can you use it in a sentence? My antonym came over for Christmas dinner. I know nothing. I'm an idiot. In fact, when I started hosting that show, I started making a list of all the things I didn't know, and it was like the never-ending list. Like, I don't know how they know how long to make the cord for the first bungee jump at a new place. It's like, all right, Ed, let him jump. All right, Ed, shorten it up a little bit. Give his girlfriend a free t-shirt. I don't know why the dentist makes you lie to him. Every time I go to the dentist, he'll be looking at my mouth. He's like, oh, you have not been flossing every day, have you? No, not every day. Yeah, let me think. The last time I flossed, you did it. I don't know how women can lie down on the couch and take a nap without sticking their hand in the top of their pants. How do y'all do that? See, men have a sleep button located right below our navel. We put our hand on that button and I don't know who closes the door when the bus driver gets off. Don't think about that. That'll give you a headache. I don't know why the bank leaves the vault door wide open, but chains the 20. And our children can't write. In fact, my daughters, they don't even think you need to study. They're like, well, Dad, if you need to know something, all you have to do is Google it. And to a point, they're right. I mean, when I was growing up, if you were watching TV and somebody goes, what was that guy in? You'd go, man, he looks familiar. That was it. Now you watch TV, somebody goes, what was that guy in? Somebody takes their phone and goes, he was the janitor on Joey. But I try to tell my daughters, and I try to tell you guys, there's a lot of things you can't Google. Google won't tell you everything. There's things you only learn through life experience. I call them the facts of life, things you can't Google. Like this, fact of life. If you are trying to get to the bathroom in an emergency situation, it is not a wise idea to unbutton your pants in transit in the effort to save a couple of seconds. Because the muscles that guard the floodgates will interpret the unbuttoning as the signal to abandon their post, and the 2 seconds you saved on the button are nullified by the hour and a half you spend mopping and doing laundry. And you only learn that the hard way. Google won't tell you that. Fact of life. Out of all of the cereals, Captain Crunch is the most time intensive. Here's what I'm talking about. You eat it too soon after you pour the milk on, and you will rip the roof of your mouth to shreds. You wait too long after you pour the milk on, and the captain will put a film on your teeth a wire brush can't get rid of. Google won't tell you that. Fact of life. You can have a wife with long, beautiful hair, or you can be on time. Can't have both. Fact of life, the more kids you have, the worse your parenting becomes. People that only have one child are making homemade baby food out of organic vegetables they're growing in their own backyard. Yeah, by the time that fourth kid rolls around, you're smoking a cigarette while you watch your toddler pull a year-old milk dud out from under the stove and eat it. Leave the cat hair off of it before you put it in your mouth, dummy. Fact of life, when you're driving down the road and you come up behind that old truck that's got like 13 wooden pallets stacked in the back of it, and they're held together by 2 ratty bungee cords, every one of us prays the same prayer. Dear God, don't let those bungee cords break until after I get around this guy. What happens to them, we don't really care, but I need to get around. Fact of life, flying on an airplane makes you gassy. Nobody ever acknowledges this. Nobody talks about this. No, we just all take our little roll-around suitcase and walk to baggage claim, popping them off like a trail horse. Okay, when I write this, I don't know if I'm the only one doing it or not. Got a few little giveaway laughs in this crowd. Fact of life. Who is that? I'm not flying with you. Fact of life. Women always have more questions than men have answers to. Great example. 6-7 months ago, I get a text one day. The text said, "Please pray for Tom. He was in a bad wreck." I walked through the house. I find my wife. I said, "Hey," I said, "I just got a text that said, please pray for Tom. He was in a bad wreck." She said, "Was he driving?" I said, "I don't know. I just got a text that said, please pray for Tom. He was in a bad wreck." She said, "Were Carol and the kids in the car with him?" I said, "I don't know. I just got a text that said, please pray for Tom. He was in a bad wreck." She said, "Were the people in the other car hurt too?" I said, "I don't know. I just got a text that said, please pray for Tom. He was in a bad wreck." She said, "Did they even have insurance?" I said, "I don't know. I just got a text that said, please pray for Tom. He was in a bad wreck." She said, "What hospital did they take him to?" I said, "I don't know. I just got a text that said, please pray for Tom. He was in a bad wreck." She said, "You don't know anything. What do you know?" I said, "I know you need to pray for Tom. I just got a text that said he was in a bad wreck." My life, because not long ago, my mother's flip phone finally broke. We've been praying for that 14 years, so don't give up. Things will happen on God's time. And so we ended up getting my 86-year-old mother her very first iPhone. And if you were to say to me tonight, hey Jeff, would you rather teach your mother how to text or teach your dog how to wipe his butt? I would say, hand me the toilet paper. Let's give that a shot. Teaching my 86-year-old mother to text has been a little bit of a challenge. And my daughters, bless their heart, they're texting her, trying to encourage her and everything. And she called me not long ago. She goes, I have a question. I said, what is it, Mom? She goes, what is low? I said, Mom, I have no idea what you're talking about. She said, Jules sent me a text, and at the end of it, it said low. I said, how you spell it, Mom? She said, LOL. I said, that's not low. I said, that's laugh out loud. I said, what young people do, since they text so much, instead of typing everything out, they'll just use the initials. So IDK is I don't know, OTW is on the way. I said, that's how they do it. Oh. A few weeks ago, I get a text one night from my mother. IYGTTGSINSK. I'm like, oh God, Mom's had a stroke. I called her up. I said, Mom, I said, what did you just text me? She said, I was doing like the girls do. I said, if you go to the grocery store, I need some ketchup. Well, of course you did. Why didn't I see that? But, you know, with my comedy, people always ask, where do you come up with stuff? And I don't look for stuff. I assume if I think something, or my wife says something, or my family does something, other people are thinking and saying and doing the whole thing. And then COVID hit, and I went 2.5 years without getting to do this at all. And I really missed it. I missed traveling. I grew up in Hapeville, Georgia. I'd never been anywhere through comedy. I've been to all 50 states. And my wife will cherry pick my gigs and decide where she wants to go. And then all of a sudden we didn't go anywhere for a couple of years, and she really missed the travel. So when it became evident we weren't going to go anywhere, my wife ordered like 4 or 5 travel magazines, and she was kind of living vicariously through them. So one night I'm sitting around the house and I'm flipping through one of those magazines, and I saw an article in there that was written by a woman trying to teach other women how to pack for a 10-day trip using only a carry-on suitcase. Let me repeat that. A woman packing for 10 days using only a carry-on suitcase. And I thought, what woman is she talking about? Barbie? My wife couldn't pack for a nudist colony in a carry-on suitcase. And now the airport only lets you take 1 carry-on. Well, if I'm with my wife, she has 2, and I have whatever I can fit in my pockets. But I thought it was interesting because we live in a world where people try to make everything you say sexist. I thought the article was interesting because it was only written to women. She didn't say men. Because I think men could you do 10 days in a carry-on? I could. You might be burning the socks and the underwear, but I could do it. Because I think most men pack like I do. This is the way I pack. I go in my closet and I think, okay, I'm going to be out 3 days. 3 days means 3 pairs of socks, 3 pairs of underwear, 3 shirts, another pair of blue jeans in case I spill something on these, toothbrush, razor blade, ready to go. 10 seconds of well thought out packing. That's how I pack. Now, when I go on vacation with my wife, and let me say this up front, I love being on vacation with my wife. Because my wife is a lot more friendly on vacation than she is at home. Something about having numbers on the door improves her attitude. Same woman that won't look at me twice at home, you get numbers on the door, she is hanging the trapeze before the bellhops to the ice machine. Love being on vacation with this girl. It's getting to vacation that is the problem, because it takes her longer than 10 seconds to pack. In fact, it takes her days to pack. And I finally figured out why. It's because she has outfits. Not a man in this room has an outfit. My wife's got an outfit for the airport. This is my airport outfit. Doesn't bind, doesn't cling. Shoes are easy on, easy off through security. I love this airport outfit. She has an outfit picked out for every single day we are going to be gone, plus additional outfits in case we go out somewhere nice to dinner. She's got sleepwear, swimwear, exercise wear, lounge around wear. So there's a ton of clothes that have a shot at making her vacation team. So what she will do is about 3 days before we're supposed to leave, she'll start pulling clothes out. And she'll lay them on the bed like flat Stanley mannequins. And she just stares at them. Sometimes she'll call me and come here and need your help. Okay, I am down to these 2 outfits. Which one do you like the best? One on the left. Are you kidding me? What's wrong with the one on the right? There's nothing wrong with it. I like that one on the left. I knew I shouldn't have called you. I love the one on the right. You know what? Now that I really think about it, I love the one on the right. No, you don't. You're just saying that. Now I don't know what to do. I know what to do. I'm going to go jump in front of a bus. Why don't you stand here and stare at this for a while? See, because with me, once my clothes are packed, I'm packed. With my wife, the clothes, that's just the foundation. Her packet, it's like an archaeological dig. There's many, many layers to it. Because once she has the clothes picked out, now she has to go back and pick out the jewelry that goes with each particular outfit. These ladies are like, yes, she does. If you watch court TV, that's what they call the jewelry selection process. Next level is the shoes. He just got the jewelry selection process. I can take as much time as you need, honestly. The shoes take a long time. She spends longer picking shoes for vacation than we spent picking names for our children. I mean, my wife loves shoes. I hope to God she never has to choose between me and her shoes. Because I can see the surgeon going, well, Miss Foxworthy, we can save Jeff's life. But in order to do it, you would have to get rid of all of your shoes. He said he wants to be cremated. I'm going to need some new shoes for that ceremony. Next level is the electronics, because one time we went somewhere and the hotel didn't have a hairdryer. Well, that was a world crisis. So now my wife never packs a suitcase without packing a hairdryer. But then she'll pack a hair curler and a hair straightener. I'm like, they cancel each other out. Then she packs that lighted makeup mirror where one side has 12 times magnification. Nobody needs to look at their face magnified 12 times. At 12 times magnification, a wrinkle looks like an irrigation ditch. A blackhead looks like a manhole cover. And God forbid she find a chin hair. You're not getting a girl out of the room that sees something on her chin that looks like the anchor rope to a battleship. I'm telling you that right now. Do you know I've never ever looked at my face in the 12 times magnification mirror. All right, to be completely honest, a couple of times I did get out of the shower and I paused in front of it just for a minute. Buenos dias, señor enchilada grande. Next level, total feminine phenomena, is the just-in-case level. Like my wife will always pack a little raincoat and a travel umbrella just in case it rains. I'm like, baby, I checked the forecast. There's less than a 5% chance any day we're going to be there. Okay, fine. I don't know what you're going to do if it rains. I do. I'll probably go back inside. She always packs a sweater or a light jacket just in case it gets cold at night, as it so often does in Orlando in July. Anybody else have a wife or girlfriend that will, this is what my wife will do. She will take a little soft-sided collapsible suitcase and pack it inside of the hard-sided suitcase, just in case I buy something. And I've never looked in that soft-sided suitcase. I'm willing to bet there's a smaller soft-sided suitcase inside of it. She'll always pack like a gallon Ziploc bag full of medicine, just in case somebody gets sick. One time I'm playing in Buffalo. It's like February. They had snow up to here. I have a little bit of a headache. I go and zip the medicine bag. We've got malaria pills. Thankfully missed the great malaria outbreak in Buffalo. And I said, baby, I love you to death. I said, this is where your packing just goes off the rails. So the next time we're getting ready to go on vacation, I walk in the bedroom and I caught her rooting through my suitcase. And she goes, She pulls out a 5-pound bag of oats, holds it up. She goes, what is this for? I said, oh, that. I said, that is just in case the 2 donkeys we're going to need to carry your luggage get hungry while we're gone. And actually, she packs light for airline travel as opposed to if we go on vacation in the car. Now, if we go on vacation in the car, there's a fine line between packing and moving. But my wife and daughters, they think it is their job to fill that SUV to the top. And the way they pack would make a man lay on the floor and wet himself. They will bring out a bag with bread and potato chips, put it on the bottom, then put 3 suitcases on top of it. I'm like, let me do this, please. Because men care about, there's an art to packing a car, isn't there? Total art. My daddy could get a house full of furniture into the trunk of a Buick. Hold the jack, hand me the piano. I got this son of a gun, you know. And I'm like my daddy too. Once I get that car packed the way I like it, I'm ready to go. Not my wife. I walk in the house like, all right, car's packed, let's do it. Oh, we can't go yet. What do you mean we can't go? Car's packed, let's go. No, I got to straighten up the house. Do what? Well, I'm not going to be able to have a good time if I know I'm going to be coming back to a messy house. Why didn't you straighten it up the last couple of days? Because I had to pack. Which in a nutshell is why men die before women. Because we want to. You know, I think sometimes when people invite me to speak at their thing, I think people think I'm smart because I hosted Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader for years. And that people always want to talk about the show. What was your favorite part of doing that show? I was like the part where they handed me the card with the answers on it. Because I didn't know any of that stuff. I'm an idiot. One night we had a lady on, she had a 2nd grade grammar question. It was something about an antonym, and she goes, oh yes, she goes, I remember there were homonyms and synonyms and antonyms. She said, I can't remember the difference in them. Can you use it in a sentence? My Aunt and them came over for Christmas dinner. I'm an idiot. And when I started hosting that show, I realized just how many things I didn't know. So I literally got a notebook and I put it in my dressing room. And every day I would write down more things that I thought of that I didn't know. And they were stupid things like, I don't know how they know how long to make the cord for the first bungee jump at a new place. All right, Ed, let him jump. All right, Ed, shorten it up a little bit. Give his mother might be the president of the United States. You didn't know till you picked it up. But now caller ID has taken all the joy out of answering the phone. Now your phone rings, you're like, oh, hell no, I ain't doing that. Nobody got time for that. And because we stick our phones in our pockets and our purses and things, they're always rubbing up against something, and we're always accidentally dialing people we didn't mean to dial. We call them butt dials. All right, I'm going to see what an honest audience you are. How many people listen more intently to butt dials than they do actual phone calls? If somebody butt dials me and I don't have anything to do, I'll stay on for like 20 minutes. I'm like... I have a buddy named Pert. He makes furniture, and Pert always sticks his phone in the front pocket of his blue jeans, so he's always butt dialing somebody. And one night he butt dialed me, and I didn't have anything going on, so I'm just sitting there listening to him walk around his shop. And after about 10 minutes, I hear a door open, and I hear a lid go up, and I hear him start to pee. Being the mature adult that I am, I jumped out of my chair, ran into the kitchen to my wife, and I went, Pert's peeing, Pert's peeing, Pert's peeing. And we put it on speakerphone, and me and my wife stood there and listened to my friend urinate. Oh my God, I hope he farts at the end. I hope he, please. What is wrong with us? Is everything we used to go somewhere else to get. Like people used to stay up late to watch the 11 o'clock news so they knew what the sports scores were and they knew what the weather was going to be. Well, now you have up-to-the-minute radar. You've got the weather for the next 2 weeks, and you've got all your sports updates right there. This thing is your airline ticket, it's your Bible, it's your flashlight, it's your Rolodex, it's your music library, it's a video arcade. It's a world-class camera. See, some of you younger people don't know this. Cameras used to be separate things, and you would have to buy film and put it in them. And you would take 24 pictures having no idea if they were good or bad or out of focus. And then when you had taken all 24, you would take the film out of it, go to the drugstore, and you'd give it to them where they would process it. And then after everybody that worked at the drugstore had had an opportunity to look at your pictures, they would call you and you would go get them. And you knew they'd look at you, you were picking them up, and they're like, when'd y'all go to the Grand Canyon? You son of a bitch. But see, back then, pictures were precious. Even if they were out of focus or somebody's head was cut off, you put them in a photo album because it was your only proof that you had been somewhere. But now you can look at your picture. If something's wrong with it, you delete it and take another one. So pictures are no longer precious. We just take pictures of everything. My daughters take pictures of their food. When we're in restaurants, when the waiter puts their plate down, my daughters are like, hold on, the camera eats first. They take a picture of their food and send it to their friends. I'm like, hell, when I was growing up, if you ate a delicious waffle, other than the biggest computers we had in the world in 1980, all the knowledge in the world right there at your fingertips. You want to know how much an elephant weighs? Ask your phone. You want to know how tall Tom Cruise is? Ask your phone. See, back in the good old days, if we wanted to know something, we had to wait until our cheap-ass parents broke down and bought a set of encyclopedias. And here was the deal. You didn't get them all at one time. You made a down payment, they'd give you the A volume. You keep making payments, a few years later, you get the B. So that first year, you could talk very intelligently about Antarctica or aardvarks. But if you had to do a school report on Zimbabwe, you were being held back another year. Your phone in your lap, turn the volume down, watch a football game. Yeah, and it's porn. And you don't even have to be looking for it. There's so much porn in here, it's looking for you. Not long ago, my wife and I were trying to figure out where to go eat one night. I typed in delicious Italian near me. I'm like, Mamma mia. That's a spicy meatball there. See, back in the good old days, porn was when one of your friends found a discarded Playboy magazine. And you would sneak it back to the secret clubhouse in the woods. Therefore, the password. And maybe if you're into porn, now is the good old days, because it took 2 hands to hold that magazine, but only 1 hand to hold your phone. And human beings being able to corrupt anything that is good have found such naughty things to do with this phone. People actually take pictures of their private parts and send them to other people, which is such a fabulous idea. What could possibly go wrong with an idea like that? See, back in the good old days, if I had wanted to send my girlfriend a picture of my private parts, I would have had to have found a piece of notebook paper, put it on the edge of the kitchen table, waited until nobody else was home, ran over to the table, dropped my pants, laid Junior on the paper, take a pencil and trace him out. Then I would have had to have got a box of crayons, and it would have had to have been the 64 count box because that was the only one that had flesh tone in it. Color it in, fold that paper up, put it in an envelope, address it to my girlfriend, put a stamp on it, walk down the driveway and put it in the mailbox to mail it to her. So 3 days later, she could call me and go, "Why did you send me a drawing of your thumb?" So she called me one night, and I answered because I didn't have anything to do for an hour and a half. And I'm talking to my mom. Well, during the call, my mom mentioned that there had been a couple of break-ins in her neighborhood. And I said, "Well, Mom, that's a little concerning." She said, "I know." She said, "That is why I am thinking about getting my carry permit." My mother is 85 years old. Her eyesight is bad, her hearing is worse, and she has the balance of Ron White after midnight. And now she's thinking about getting a pistol. And I said, "Look, Mom," I said, "I am a supporter of the Second Amendment." I said, "And you can call me overly cautious." I said, "But maybe you shouldn't be packing heat if you're wearing a life alert." Though she could use her pill boxes to sort the bullets in. Yeah. I said, "Mom," I said, "you might want to think this out." I said, "You better hope loading the thing is easier than opening a jar of pickles, or you're going to be in trouble." Because she has arthritis, in her fingers. And then I thought, hell, I bet my agent could get her a commercial. My arthritis had gotten so bad that I could barely jack around into the chamber. But thanks to new improved buffering, I can make it rain, dog. You feel me, bruh? I hung up the phone and said to my wife, I said, "Well, I know what I'm getting Mom for Christmas. I'm going to get her the magnetic holster she can slap on the side of her walker. And I'm getting her husband the bulletproof vest he can wear underneath his cardigan sweater, just in case she goes spider monkey during the Wheel of Fortune." We had a quick snack. Now we're raising our parents. I swear they passed each other in the driveway. And let me tell you something. I thought teenagers were crazy. Teenagers are a piece of cake compared to old people. They're nuts. I was getting my car serviced a while back, and they called to say it was ready. I called my father-in-law. I said, "Hey, can you give me a ride to the car dealership?" On the way to the dealership, he needed to stop for gas. I learned on that little stop that it is possible to wash your entire car with the squeegee from the gas station. And I know this because I sat in the passenger seat and watched him do it. Well, I sat there until the guy at the next pump started videoing it. Then I slid down in the floorboard because I didn't want to get tagged on Instagram. He got back in the car. I said, "You do realize the gas station has got a car wash right there?" He goes, "Yeah, well, that's $6. I'm like, "So to save $6, you gave away all your dignity and washed your car with a squeegee in the dirtiest water on the planet Earth." Good old days. Of course, when he describes the way he grew up, it's always tough. You know, it's like, oh, yeah, we had no electricity. Me and my brother shared a pair of shoes. We had to walk to school through 5 feet of snow. I'm like, when did it snow 5 feet in New Orleans? But I kind of get what he means about the good old days. Because, think about it, as you get old, technology has changed your entire life. Morality has changed. Society has changed. And all of a sudden, you find yourself living in a world that doesn't make sense to you. So you kind of long for that world where you felt like you had things figured out. And to them, that's the good old days. But it couldn't have been perfect. I was asking my mom about it. And do you know my mom had an outhouse until she was 14 years old? And I said, well, Mom, what would you do in the wintertime if you had to go to the bathroom and it was late at night? She said, we went in a bucket. That's what they called it, a slop jar or a honey pot. That's what they did. They went to the bathroom in a bucket. And I'm thinking, I know how my wife responds to the aroma of a broccoli casserole that has been in the refrigerator one day too long. I cannot imagine her response to a bucket of turds in the living room. And you know, one of the euphemisms for dying is he kicked the bucket. I bet you that's what that's talking about. Hey, baby, I'm sorry, but that is an event 20 years in the making. Yeah, 1 month into COVID, my mom's flip phone broke, and so we bought her very first iPhone. And if you were to say to me tonight, Jeff, would you rather teach your mother how to text or teach your dog how to wipe his ass? I would probably say, hand me the toilet paper. Let me give that a shot. The texting has been a little bit of a challenge. And my daughters were so excited, you know, that their GABA was finally texting. So they're texting her. One night I get a call from my mom, and she says to me, what is low? I said, what are you talking about, Mom? She said, Jordan sent me a text, and at the end of it, it said low. I said, how do you spell it? She said, L-O-L. I said, Mom, that's not low, that's laugh out loud. I said, that's what the kids do now. Instead of writing everything out, you know, they just use initials like IDKs, I don't know, OMGs, oh my gosh. You know, I said, that's how they do it. A few nights later, I get a text from my mother that says IYGTTGSINSK. I'm like, oh God, Mom's had a stroke. I called her up. I said, Mom, what did you just text me? She said, I was doing like the girls do. I said, if you go to the grocery store, I need some ketchup.